Good morning, guys. Richie Rich here. Today in this video, I'm gonna be doing a part 2 video on drifting. Let's do it. So just had a shower. Just came out the shower now, looking fresh. Like -1 degrees outside, and it's cold. But yeah, let's do it. This is Tic Tac. Anyway, let's get started. So, so it's part 2. So we're on is what I've done is basically drawing a line to show where I was right here. It's not really good, but it just helps me figure out what part I'm at, so I won't have to like go through like the whole video just to see what part I'm at, because that'll just waste time. So I'll just do that. Yeah, let's do it. So before we got to that, I did the styles, which was judged on 3 areas of focus, which was initiation, fluidity, and commitment. So let's talk about initiation. Well, not initiation, sorry, I don't know what that is. Initiation, there we go. So yeah, style is judged based on 3 areas of focus: initiation, fluidity, or initiation, I think it says, fluition, and commitment. There we go, initiation. Not initiation, sorry. Initiation, there we go. Sorry. So, initiation is based on how early and smooth the driver initiates, there we go, into a drift. Alright. Fluidity is how smooth the driver drives from lock to lock, high angles of drift, and just overall smoothness on the track. Commitment is judged on consistent throttle throughout, and how the driver is willing to get to walls and clipping points. So yeah, like basically like the drivers just drift as much as they can if they get close to like the edge, like pretend like this is the wall and this is the car. As it drifts, it starts to get to like an angle about right there, so it will get close to the wall, like real close to it, without without getting clipped onto it, or like when they, I don't know how this kind of works really, but it's kind of how it is. So it's basically like to get like close to like an object without like having to hit it, like for example like a wall or the clipping points like on the track basically. So yeah, commitment is just on consistent throttle throughout and how the driver is willing to get to walls and clipping points. The King of Europe Drift Pro Series has developed its own telemetry system, which uses GPS data to accurately measure speed, angle, and line, and thus leading to a very objective result for the qualifying seasons. Alright, next we've got drift cars. Now this is gonna get good. So for those of you who are like JDM car enthusiasts and all that, I have got like a few Japanese cars here, and one American car, which is a drift car, but I don't know, to be honest. It's more of like a straight line drag car, but oh well. So yeah. So for all of you car enthusiasts who are out there watching this channel, I have also written down some drift cars, which were from all-wheel drive. They could be been converted to rear-wheel drive for the drifting seasons. So, drift cars. Drift cars are usually light to moderate weight rear-wheel drive coupes and sedans, or coupes and saloons as you can call it, offering a large range of power levels. There have also been all-wheel drive cars that have been converted to rear-wheel drive, such as the Subaru WRX, my dream rally car, the Toyota Avensis, the Scion TC, Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution, my favorite rally car, Dodge Charger, favorite muscle car, and Nissan GTR, one of my favorite and dream cars. One of the best cars ever in the world, the Nissan GTR. The best. R34 is like my dream car, basically. Alright, so yeah, Nissan GTR, good. Early on, all-wheel drive cars without conversion were allowed in some drifting competitions, and usually the rule allowed only a certain percentage of power to be sent to the front wheels, but they are banned in most, if not all, drifting competitions today. Despite the possibility of obtaining desirable Japanese domestic market cars in continents outside Japan, drifters in other countries prefer to use local versions of the same cars, for example, the Nissan 240SX instead of the Nissan Silvia S13, etc., or even some domestic cars, like some American and Euro cars, basically. A high voltage, a high voltage, a high voltage. Ah, I still can't say it properly. It just feels weird. And take a deep breath. There we go. Yeah. See the smoke? I'm not smoking. I promise you guys. I never will do that. I never will. It's just like the air is getting like dense outside and it's cold, and you're breathing like the cold air. That's like how cold it is, basically. So, So yeah, despite the possibility of obtaining desirable Japanese domestic market cars in continents outside Japan, drifters in other countries prefer to use local versions of the same cars. Example like Nissan 240SX instead of a Nissan Silvia S13, etc., or even domestic cars. Like some muscle cars and Euro cars, basically. A high voltage of Japan. A high voltage of Japanese imports were brought to countries such as Australia and New Zealand. However, it's not unusual to see Australia and New Zealand domestic cars such as the Holden Commodore or Ford Falcon used in drifting competitions. Used in drifting competitions. The American market saw a relatively high voltage of JDM cars being imported over the last decade, despite Japanese domestic cars being right-hand drive only. Locally sold imports such as the Lexus SC. Before I get to that, in America, there's some Japanese cars which are like left-hand drive, basically. So they got those imported like legally, I would say, like in some Fast and Furious movies, they used some Japanese cars which are left-hand drive, and even in Too Fast and Furious, where they got the Skylines and Evos, and they imported the Skylines legally by Motorex, so they could be used in the Fast and Furious movie. And Craig Lieberman once, who's also the technical advisor for the first and the second Fast and Furious movie, he converted his Skyline to look like Brian's car, and after the movie, he got it back to his original design, took off the HKS gauges basically, and got it to his original candy blue paint. And for the Evos, the Evos were supposed to be intended to be in Austria by a rally team, but they were imported into the US for the use of the second movie. And so yeah, that's how and sometimes for importing cars you have to pay the taxes and the cost to import it and to make it road legal into the countries, basically. That's how it works, basically, if you import vehicles from different countries, basically. So yeah, a high voltage of not voltage, sorry, a high volume, there we go, of Japanese imports were brought to countries such as Australia and New Zealand. However, it's not unusual to see Australian and New Zealand domestic cars such as the Holden Commodore or Ford Falcon used in drifting competitions. The American market saw a relatively high volume of JDM cars being imported over the last decade, despite Japanese domestic cars being right-hand drive only. Locally sold imports such as the Lexus SC and Nissan 240SX, feature heavily in American drifting, but they're usually modified with JDM engines to mirror their Japanese domestic equivalents, usually with a Toyota JZ GTE or Nissan CA18 DET, SR20 DET, or even an RB26 DET, respectively. Or you could get one as a DET, basically single turbo. Basically, it's either way. Either twin turbo or single turbo, however way you would want it. Or there's also some other Japanese engines which I really know, to be honest. There's the 4G63, the RB26 DET, yeah, DET, and you could get one as a DET as well. And there's also the RB25 DET and RB25 DET Neo as well. And also the B18 series, the F20C, SR20s, a lot of stuff, you know. A lot of different engines, but I don't know what the engine is for the Subaru WRXs. I know they're boxer 4 cylinders, but I don't know what like their engine code is like. For like the Skylines and Supras, for Supras they got 2JZs and or 2JZs, like depending on like how you pronounce it basically. And some Skylines they use RB26s, but I don't know what the engine is for the Subaru. If you guys know what it is for the Subaru, comment below. And I want to know what the engine is for the Subaru WRX, like what the code is basically, like what the engine is like called. Like for example, the Nissan Skyline is RB26, Toyota Supra's 2JZs. What's for the Subaru? If any of you guys know what it is for the Subaru, comment below, and I'll try my best to remember what the engine code is for like the Subaru basically. I know it's a boxer 4 cylinder, but like what is like the full engine name for the car, like what engine type it is, like what the name of it is. So yeah, alright, so locally sold imports such as the Lexus SE and Nissan 240SX feature heavily in American drifting, but they're usually modified with JDM engines to mirror their Japanese domestic equivalents, usually with a Toyota JZ GTE or Nissan CA18 DET, SR20 DET, or B26 DET respectively. In the UK, there are a high level of Japanese imports used within the drifting scene, due in part to the UK sharing a right-hand drive RHD layout in Japan. Sucks that they're not left-hand drive, but I mean, there's some left-hand drive cars in the UK, but it's kind of hard to like really, find them basically, because they're like all over the place in like different times basically. And so yeah, sharing a right-hand drive RHD, right-hand drive layout, same thing basically. Layout in Japan. However, these cars often cost more than UK market cars, partly due to import costs. There are lots of UK and Euro models used as drift cars as well. Older BMWs are particularly prominent due to cost and availability, with Volvo 300 series and Ford Sierras also proving popular. In the Formula Drift Professional Series, cars range from highly tuned Japanese automobiles reflecting the original styles of drifting to all new ages, makes, and models. Yeah, to all new age makes and models. That's what it says. Due to no power limit restrictions in the series, it's not uncommon for competitors, almost competitions, competitors to use a variety of different power plants. Popular variations of Chevrolet LS engines are often seen bolted down to Japanese frames. Kind of weird, but there is some Japanese drift cars which use like V8 engines and all that from different cars basically. In the King of Europe Drift Series, the main professional drift series in Europe, BMW models have long ruled the scene, winning event after event, year after year. The most successful models include the E30, E36, and E46, which also present an advantage in cost, being more affordable than their Japanese rivals. For a few years, BMW V8 engine swaps were the most popular, providing a healthy 300 to 400 horsepower. Yeah, 300 to 400 horsepower output, which is a lot for a sports car or drift car. For that, pretty good. With the continuous evolution of the sport, however, these have now become obsolete, making way for more powerful American V8 engines or classic Nissan RB26 DET and Toyota 2JZ GTE engines. Which engine is better, RB or JZ? Comment below. Like, there might be like a 50 difference in like people deciding on which engine is like the best, but I like JZ engines. I like JZ engines. I like the 1JZ, the 2JZ GT, not GT, sorry, GE, and the 2JZ GTE. The best is a 2JZ GTE engine. That's like the best. But as a Skyline person, as me, like I prefer RB engines, like RB26s, RB25s. They're pretty good, but the most I like is RB26. Because that is used in like the most amount of Skylines. They use it in the R32, the R33, and even the R34 as well. As an example, the top 15 cars in the 2003 D1 GP, top 10 in the 2004 D1 GP, and top 10 in the 2005, the year I was born, D1 GP were as follows. So what I've done is I've done a graph. Oh, almost knocked that phone over. Jesus. Sorry. What I've done is I've done a graph of the cars, the model, and how many cars were used in the different in the different D1 GP series, drifting series, in 2003, 2004, and even 2005. And I've done another graph of the drivers who drive their own cars at the Red Bull Drifting Championship. So, let me adjust this real quick. There we go. All right. Perfect. All right. So the cars and the makes and models I've got right here. So the first one I have was used in for the 3-year drifting series is the Nissan Silvia S15. They used in 2003 6 cars. In 2004 they used 5 cars, and in 2005 the year I was born 3 cars. Next is the Toyota 11 Treno, the car I once talked about like a few months ago, way back in like 2022. The A.K.A. the car one of the viewers from YouTube commented me to do, and so it was on that Euro. It was on that video when I was talking about the Euro cars when I was on my way to college once, just way before I've done the Asian car videos as well. I talk about their reliability ratings and all that. So thank you for that, YouTuber, for commenting me of that car to do. I've done it for you, man. So appreciate it. So yeah, the Toyota 11 Treno A86. In 2003 and in 2004 they used 3 cars. In 2005 they used 2. Next is the Mazda RX-7, the FT35 or FT3S. I don't know. Yeah, FT35. They used 2 cars in 2003 and then in 2005, but in 2004 they used 1 car only. Next up is my dream ride, the Nissan Skyline R34. They used 1 car in 2003, 4, and 5. And next is the Nissan Silvia S13. They used 5 cars in 2003, 5 of them, but none in 2004 and in 2005. Next is the Toyota Chaser JZX 100. They used only 1 car in 2003, but they have not used any in 2004 or 2005. Next is the Subaru Impreza GT rear-wheel drive conversion. They used none in 2003 and 4. But they did have 1 car in 2005, and the same goes in 2003 and 4. None for the Toyota Altezza SXE10. Yeah, Toyota Altezza SXE10. They used none in 2003 and 4, but they used 1 in 2005. Only 1 car. Next up is the top cars in the Red Bull Drifting Championship were as follows. So I've done another graph, but this shows the drivers and their makes and models. So the first one is Tanner Faust, who used to do like in like I don't know, like 5-10 years ago I think. He drives his Ford Fiesta rally car, which run like X Games gold medalist. Can't say properly. X Games gold medalist, and it also won some pretty good rally championships. So it's pretty good. My favorite part about that car is like when he was doing like basically he was doing like a speed test basically, and he beat the world record in his own car, which was pretty good. I mean, awesome it was pretty good for a rally car like that, which won like X Games gold medalists and like lots of rally championships basically. So yeah, so the driver, yeah, Tanner Faust, he had his Nissan 350Z or 350Z in this country, whatever. I don't know. But next we got Ryan Turk, I think. I don't know. It's spelled. His last name is spelled Tuerck, and he drives his Toyota GT4586, which basically he had. The reason why it's called GT4586 is because he did an engine swap to that. He installed a Ferrari V8 into the front of the car, which it's kind of cool, but it's a little bit weird. I mean, a Japanese drift car with a Ferrari Italian V8. I mean, it would be good for like the power and torque to get it to drift a lot, but I figured it would be a little bit heavier to like the front of it, like to drag and all that. But at least it would give more drifting power done to it. So he is the Toyota GT4586. Next is Ken Gushi in his Scion TC. Next is Kevin Huynh. I think it's spelled Huynh, and he's in his Dodge Viper. Next is Reese Millen in his Pontiac Solstice GXP. Sorry, it's just freezing. Next is Samuel Hubinette. It's spelled Hubinett. I think I said it right. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. He drives his Dodge Charger, or it's a. I don't really know much of these drivers. Next up is Chris Forsberg, spelled Forsberg. Forsberg, in his Nissan 370Z. Good. All right. As of 2017, the top cars participating in Formula Drift are these. So these are the 7 cars in total. So the first one is the Nissan 370Z. And the next ones are the Nissan Silvia S14 and S15, Nissan Silvia, Toyota GT86, BMW E46 M3, Ford Mustang, and the Mazda MX-5, which is the Miata. Next up, we've got drift tuning. A mechanical limited slip differential, LSD for short, is considered essential for drifting. Drifting with an open or viscous differential is a sustained slide generally. Yields relatively less impressive results. All other modifications are secondary to the LSD. The preferred form of LSD for drifting is the clutch type in two-way form for its consistent and aggressive lockup behavior under both acceleration and deceleration. Yeah, both acceleration and deceleration. Some drift cars use a spool differential, which actually has no differential action as all the wheels are locked to each other. Drifters on a budget may use a welded differential, where the side gears are welded to give the same effect as a spool. This makes it easier to break rear traction because it reduces maximum traction in all situations except traveling in a straight line. So it needs to have traction on the rear wheels if it's rear wheel drive. It needs traction to the rear wheels put down, but if it's all-wheel drive, it needs traction on both 4 wheels so you can get a perfect launch off the start. So yeah, this makes it easy to break rear traction because it reduces maximum traction in all situations except traveling in a straight line. Welded differentials have an inherent risk involved due to the tremendous amount of internal stress. The welds may fail and the differential completely locks up, leaving the rear wheels immobilized. So if the differential locks up, it can destroy the rear wheels, even like destroy the traction of the rear tires, and the rear tires will just like burst, and they'll just like leave trails of rubber there. And so yeah, so it completely locks up, leaving the rear wheels immobilized. Helical torque sensing differentials such as the Torsen or Quaife, is spelled Quaife, available on cars in certain stock trims such as the S15, FD35 or 3S, FD3S RX7 Type RB, MX5 JZ A80 Mark IV Supra, and the ZZ3X Toyota Soarer 2.0 GT Twin Turbo are also adequate. It's also common for drifters to change the final gear ratio depending on the type of track layout. The clutches on drift cars tend to be very tough ceramic, brass, button, or multiple plate varieties for durability, as well as to allow rapid clutch kicking techniques to upset the grip of the rear wheels. So basically, I'll demonstrate to you guys. Alright, so as you're drifting, what you do is, like, if you get into a corner, what I would do is, if I would do clutch kicking, what I'll do is I'll get the car into a corner, lift up the e-brake or handbrake at the same time, and then rapidly just push, and then rapidly start to hit the clutch, and I'll start to keep on doing it, and I'll get a good angle. And then after I've done mine, I'll just throw it back, try to control it into a straight line, and just keep on going. I think that's how clutch kicking works. I don't know, but I'll watch some YouTube videos about clutch kicking. So I will just like know it pretty much. So yeah, the clutches on drift cars tend to be very tough ceramic, brass, button, or multiple plate varieties for durability, as well as to allow rapid clutch kick techniques to upset the grip of the rear wheels. Gearbox and engine mounts are often replaced with urethane or aluminum or aluminium mounts, and dampers are added to control the violent motion of the engine and gearbox under these conditions. The drive shafts are often replaced with carbon fiber drive shafts, as they offer the highest rotational mass savings, are stronger than alternative metals, and flexible enough to absorb and dissipate vibrations, so it won't vibrate like a lot, basically, with carbon fiber. Because carbon fiber is like a lightweight material, and it's durable, and it's also strong. So it dissipates vibrations, thus easing load on the gearbox as well as the rest of the drivetrain. Gear sets may be replaced with closer ratios to keep the engine in the power band, or, on some cars that produce enough power and torque to 4-gear transmissions, similar to ones used in NASCAR, such as the Andrews 4-speed dog box and Von Guyton Jr., an American self-taught professional drifter from Maryland who competes in Formula Drift in a Ford Mustang RTR Spec 5D sponsored by Monster Energy, Naito Tire, and Ford Performance. Ran in his 2016 Mustang with more open ratio gears. This limits the number of shifts the driver has to do during their run. Alright. So, next up. These may be coarse or dog engagement straight cut gears instead of synchronized helical gears for durability and faster shifting at the expense of noise and refinement. Wealthier drifters may use sequential gearboxes to make gear selection easier and faster, while sequential shift lever adapters can be used to make shifts easier without increasing the shift time on the gears. Next up, we got two important parts: steering and suspension. Steering angles are also crucial as the driver progresses. The first stage of these modifications is usually a modified steering knuckle or upright. Extended control arms can be employed on McPherson's truck cars like the Nissan S chassis to allow for more clearance for higher steering angles. Many aftermarket companies have developed full lock kits, including, so these are the modifications on the vehicle's original: scrub radius, kingpin axis, Ackerman angle, amount of bump steer, caster angle, and kinematics as to maximize the front grip of the tires. So that increases the grip onto the front wheels, so it will have not much grip onto the rear, so you can like easily drift the car, and eliminate mechanical bind at steering angles in excess of 60 degrees. I don't know what kind of degrees I've done, but I was just demonstrating to you guys. While McPherson's truck cars are prevalent in professional drifting, double wishbone suspension cars can also be competitive with often better caster and camber angles. Caster and camber curves. Springs and shock absorbers are also tuned for higher skill levels depending on track layout, which is included on almost all production cars. While Ackerman geometry is helpful in making a car turn easier, it inhibits the ability to slide sideways at full lock necessary to compete in drifting. Got the interior. This one is important as well. Because of the high centrifugal forces encountered during drifting, drivers are usually retained by a racing seat and 5-point harnesses. This allows the hands to merely turn the wheel instead of bracing the body in the seat. The same applies for the feet, which are free to move rapidly between clutch, brake, and accelerator gas pedals. The steering wheel is usually relatively small, dished, and perfectly round so that it can be released and allowed to spin in the driver's hands as the caster returns the front wheels to the center. The locking knob on the e-brake or handbrake is usually replaced with a spin turn knob. This stops the e-brake, handbrake locking on when it's being pulled. So when it's being pulled, it stops it from getting locked up. Nearly all drivers move the e-brake, handbrake, same thing basically, location, or add an extra hydraulic e-brake, handbrake actuator for a greater braking force. Additional gauges are used to monitor boost levels, oil pressure, oil temperature, intake temperature, coolant temperature, and air-fuel ratios, among other data. Some drivers, especially in larger cars, move the seating position for a better weight distribution, such as Daigo Saito, Japanese professional drifting driver in his 2014 or 2014, same thing, but I said it shorter, JZX100 Mark II Chaser, which is a Toyota. Mark II Toyota Chaser, which is a pretty good looking car. Next up is tires. That's important as well. In the US, competitive drifters are required to run USDOT, United States Department of Transport approved road legal tires similar to racing slicks and rubber composition, but with shallow treads included. This is permitted with the exception of some major championships including D1 GP, that's one, and Formula Drift, which only permit commercially available tires that are approved by the sanctioning body. Professional drifting has gone to the point where grip is tuned into cars to be defeated. It makes for a faster drift necessary in the current professional climate. Tires typically used by drifting, not drifting, used by drifters, and are the and around the DLT tread wear rating of 200. So basically, you'll see on tires like the kind of like tread depth and like of how much like tread like the tires will produce basically. And also, here's the thing, like if you were to change a tire, like you gotta be careful because inside the tires they got like center beads basically. So if you break those, then like basically like it's not gonna work. I think like we learned this in college, like we learned this once in college when we first started like doing wheels and tires basically. Way before we did brakes and suspension and the oil changing as well, and even the coolant changing as well. So yep. So that's what we've done. So basically, they got like sensor beads into the tire. So if those break, then like the whole tire is like gonna be like crooked. Basically, I don't know. Basically, I don't know. We've done tires way back in 2022 when we first started college in September. So yeah. So tires typically used by drifters are around the DLT treadwear rating of 200. Examples include the Hankook. I don't know how to say that. It's spelled Hancoo. Not C. It's spelled Hankook. Ventus RS3s, Falcon Azenis RT615Ks. So those are the two then. Naito NTO5s, Yokohama Advan Neova AD08Rs, and Achilles Radial 123Ss. Some other companies from Asia have also started developing their technology through sponsoring professional drivers. These companies include Nankang, it's kind of weird saying it, Westlake, and Zestino. Tires are often modified with lettering to give them a more customized look. Different tire names are from different countries, I would say. Like we've got Falcon, Bridgestone, Toyo, Yokohama, Advan, all that sort of stuff. Next we got RC drifting. RC drifting refers to the act of drifting with a radio-controlled car. RC cars are equipped with special low-grip tires, usually made from PVC, polyvinyl chloride, or ABS. Not anti-lock braking system for cars, but for the kind of like material used for the tires, like the kind of rubber they use for the RC cars. ABS. This took me a while just to get the name right, but I think I finally got it. It's acrylonitrile. Yeah, acrylonitrile butadiene styrene piping. Some manufacturers make radial drift tires that are made of actual rubber components. The car setup is usually changed to allow it to drift more easily. RC cars is most successful on all-wheel drive RC cars. Well, RC drifting is more successful on all-wheel drive RC cars. There we go. Companies such as Overdose, Yokomo, MST, Tamiya, Team Associated, and Hobby Products International, or short for HPI, have made dedicated drift cars and supported the hobby. Next up, we've got in the media, film and television. One of the key sources responsible for the international spread of drifting is the Japanese manga and anime series Initial D, which features Takumi Fujiwara, a high school student who learned to drift on the Mount Akinatoge mountain pass, which is in Japanese, using a custom Toyota A86, which I talked about like a few months ago. The series features a large number of Japanese performance cars including the Mazda RX-7, Nissan Skyline, Toyota Supra, Toyota MR2 and Mazda MX-5 and many other cars. Hollywood embraced the drifting subculture in the film The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift 2006. They basically like for logistical situations, like they didn't think like it wasn't quite suitable in some locations in Japan. So basically, what they did for the movie is that they filmed the movie in Los Angeles basically, and they were in downtown L.A. and they converted it into Tokyo, which they put on some lights, signs, and even some cars from Tokyo, which makes it like pretty good actually. But it would be kind of hard to find out the difference if that's Los Angeles or Tokyo. But I don't know it's Los Angeles, but even though it's converted into Tokyo. Which is weird. So yeah, Hollywood embraced the drifting subculture in the film The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift 2006. Paul Newman's character Doc Hudson, a 1951 FHH Fabulous Hudson Hornet in Cars 2006, uses drifting techniques on the dirt track in the desert to demonstrate his skills to skeptical NASCAR rookie Lightning McQueen. Next up, alright, we got more. The 2017 film Baby Driver features an extended drift chase scene in which Ansel Elgort's eponymous character drives a Subaru WRX to evade the cops after a bank robbery. The 2019 Netflix TV series Hyperdrive, which I watched a little bit and it was really fun, is a reality competition show that focuses heavily on drifting, won by Diego Hija, spelled H-I-J, not J, sorry, hell, no, oh, what am I, no, it was, can't even talk properly. It's spelled H-I-G-A, pro racing driver, drifting professor, and Netflix Hyperdrive champion from Santos, Brazil, of Brazil. Computer and console gaming. Drifting's popularity in computer games extends back to early arcade racers, where techniques for games such as Sega Rally and Ridge Racer involved drifting. The technique is now considered mainstream in modern games in all their forms. In-game communities have developed within games such as Assetto Corsa, Forza Motorsport, and Gran Turismo, made up of teams who battle in user-created tournaments. Assetto Corsa has become a popular choice for many due to the simulator featuring true-to-life physics that can translate to real-world driving and the ever-expanding variety of championships it offers. Some of the most notable include the VDC, Virtual Drift Championship, the DCGP, the Drift Corner Grand Prix, and more recently, the Esports Drifting Championship here, the ESDC, the Esports Drifting Championship. Alright, we got more. Some championships have also been created by real-world event organizers such as the DMVC, not the DMV for getting a driver's license, but DMVC, Drifting Masters Virtual Championship. Assetto Corsa is also extremely modifiable, with individual players able to create their own custom-built cars and tracks from scratch. Many models are controversially pulled from games such as Forza Motorsport 7 and then modified to fit the need of the driver. The data that drives these cars is also completely customizable, allowing players to recreate engines from real-world dynamometer data, as well as suspension geometry. This results in an extremely realistic simulation of each car when data is created accurately. Championships often scrutinize car data closely and are constantly aiming to more accurately depict the features of a virtual car's real life counterpart. There we go. Because of this, drivers are being to use Assetto Corsa as a tool to practice for real-world championships. Drifting also features heavily in the Need for Speed franchise, notably game since Need for Speed Underground, the Grid franchise, the Juiced franchise, and in Japanese domestic console games such as Initial D Extreme Stage PS3, which is based solely on drifting. It has been mainstream enough that there are also indie games about drifting such as Absolute Drift Zen Edition. Drifting and the related technique of power sliding feature heavily in the Mario Kart franchise, where a successful drift or power slide around corners will allow the player with a short nitrous boost known as a mini turbo, with longer drifts awarding a slightly longer speed boost. Similar gameplay mechanics also exist in games for the Asphalt series, where drifting and other fast-paced vehicular maneuvers are a recruiting theme. You know, like those Asphalt kind of games, like, you know, Asphalt 8 Airborne, Asphalt 9 Legends, like that kind of game, like on Android devices, basically, in like the App Store and Google Play as well. So, browser-based games include the popular Drift Hunters, NZ Performance Cars, or NZ Performance. Yeah, NZ Performance Cars, Drift Legends, the first online game to feature real racetracks, and is now ported to iPhone, iPad Touch, and Mercedes AMG's Winter Sport Drift Competition, the first manufacturer-backed drifting game. Drift games for mobile devices are readily available for major developers and independent studios. Got documentaries, so we got HPI, High Performance Imports, Volume 10 features Australian journalists from Express Publications and Australian professional drifters such as Darren Appleton traveling to Japan purchasing a drift car, which is a Nissan R32 GTS-T 4-door instead of the usual 2-door. Traveling with the likes of D1 champions and entering traveling with the likes of D1 champions and entering a drift event, almost a championship for a second. In 2011, Phil Morrison and James Robinson of Driftworks embarked on a journey to Japan, where they would shoot a documentary about the local drifting scene, which would be known to the public as Outsiders. And that is it, guys. So if you guys like this video, subscribe, comment below what you guys think, like the video. If we get to over 50 subscribers, it'll make me a happy man. So sorry if this video took a little bit longer, because like there's just a lot of info there, and I couldn't talk properly because I'll admit I sometimes would have like issues like saying it or like if I don't remember, I have to like sometimes repeat what I have to say usually. So yeah, sorry if that's a bit like annoying, but I sometimes they'll just get confused and like whatnot. I get confused usually and like what I have to like say, or I lost track of what I have to say. And so yeah, next up is next video tomorrow, I guess. It's gonna be like a short video, actually, like maybe 2-3 minutes, I guess. It's gonna be about power shifting, and then next up I've got a hypercar from Italy coming up very soon. So if you guys know what car I'm gonna talk about, like it's an Italian supercar, comment below which car you think it's gonna be. Which one do you think it is? Ferrari, Lamborghini, Pagani, or Maserati? Which one do you think out of these four? Comment below what car you think I'm gonna talk about, and I'll talk to you guys about that in the next video, like the video after my next video, which I'll be doing, which is about power shifting. And so yeah, I will see you guys tomorrow morning, I guess. And it's gonna be like a short video, and then boom, after that will be an Italian supercar next. So comment below what car you think I'll talk about, and I'll find out your options of what Italian supercar I'm gonna talk about, and I'll give you the answer and the results in like the next video after this video will be complete. which will be tomorrow, I guess. So yeah, so like I said, like, subscribe, comment below what you guys think, and if we get to over 50 subscribers, like I said, it'll make me a happy man. Maybe 100. If we get to 100,000, that would be great, and I'll get my golden play button. But I have to like work hard on videos, so I gotta keep it up. So yeah, so have a very good day. I will see you guys in the next video. So take care, stay safe, enjoy your weekend. So I'll see you guys soon. Bye.